Hello again, Year 5. We're going to carry out another science investigation this week, and we're going to be investigating air resistance. You should have already watched the air resistance videos on Bite Size that there's a link to through OneNote, so you should have a good understanding of it, but just in case we'll go through a few key points that you need to know before you start your investigation. So, air resistance is a frictional force, and it's the force that air exerts against a moving object. So, as an object moves, air resistance slows it down. For example, we've got this picture of the car. The driving force is moving it in this direction, but air resistance is slowing it down. So air resistance acts against the direction in which the car is moving. The faster that the object's motion is, the greater the air resistance that's exerted against it. Okay, so you're going to carry out an investigation. So I'm going to show you the question that you're going to investigate. It's this. How does surface area of a falling object affect the speed at which that object is falling? So essentially what you're going to be doing is making some parachutes. Okay, now we can't make them full size. You're going to have to make some decisions on the sizes of the parachutes you do make and what materials that you're going to make them parachute from. So I'm going to give you some ideas. You need to decide what object it is, what object you're going to use that's going to be falling. So you might want to use like a little Lego person, or you might want to use just some scrunched up paper. I'm actually going to use a little llama that I found, but anything that's quite small and fairly light you could use. Okay. You also need to decide on what material your parachute is going to be made from. Okay, so I would suggest that paper, if you've got some newspaper, old newspaper lying around, that would be the best. But if you did have a plastic bag, quite a thin one, that would be okay too. So I've got an example, this sort of thin plastic. You can use that, but I know we're trying not to use as many plastic bags now, so you might not have those. So I'm actually going to use newspaper. So remember the key question. How does surface area of a falling object affect the speed of the fall? So we need to know what surface area is. This piece of paper is a large piece of paper, so it's got a large surface area. And as it falls, we're going to let it fall that way. Okay, so this is the surface area. I've got another piece here that I've cut, so it's got a much smaller surface area. And what I'd ask you to do is to make some parachutes of all different sizes. You've got to decide how many you want to make. Okay, so you might want to make 3, you might want to make 5 parachutes, all of different sizes. If you're making them out of the plastic bags, again, you'll have to carefully get some scissors and cut the different sizes out of that. It doesn't have to be circular. Okay, you might think of parachutes as being circular. You can make them rectangular, it might be easier. Okay, so when you've done that, you're going to have to attach your parachute to the object that's falling. So as you can see, I've got another sheet of paper here that I'm using as my parachute. So it's this size I was going to use first. And I've used some thread to attach my little llama to the parachute. So what I can do is decide what height I'm going to drop the parachute from and then drop it to the ground. We're going to have to time that from the moment we drop it to when it hits the floor. That's probably going to be a very short amount of time. So if you've got a digital way of recording that, maybe on your phone, a stopwatch, that would be best. I've used some thread to attach my object, my llama, to the parachute because it's very light and very sort of thin thread. Okay, so if you've got something like that, that's probably best. And we're going to use the same object for all the different parachutes. Okay, so one of the variables that we're keeping the same is obviously the object. You can have a think about what the variable is that we're adjusting, that we're changing in each test. The other thing that you're going to have to think about, and I want you to make a list of, is safety precautions. You need to carry out a risk assessment. Okay, so what risks are there when you carry out this investigation? You need to think about your safety, how you carry out the test so that it's carefully done and it's controlled. You don't want any breakages. Okay, so have a good think about that, and you might want to talk to your parents or somebody at home about your risk assessment. So I will put the written work that you need to do, the tasks that you need to complete, on OneNote. There'll be the risk assessment and some instructions about how to make your parachute. Okay, that's all for now. Bye.